Meanwhile, the conversation around the Abeokuta women revolt of the 1940s is again a subject of yet another production after the much talked about Funmilayo Ramson Kuti by Bolanle Austin Peters. This time, young historian and filmmaker Lanoere Adeyemi tracks back to the ancient city to look through records and speak with some residents who were present at the time as she makes a short film. She is joined by friends, associates and family in Lagos, Southwest Nigeria for the first official screening of the works in Lagos.
10 years ago, my grandma told me about the Egba Women's Revolt, which unfolded in the late 1940s in Abeokuta. This film, Record Found Here, documents my journey 10 years after I first heard that wonderful story of resistance into a vast archive that neither sleeps nor slumbers.
So I've always known it's very important. I'm passionate about the story of the Egba Women's Revolt, primarily because my PhD is on the Egba Women's Revolt. I'm really passionate about amplifying and archiving untold stories, and the moment I realized this needed to be told was actually when I spoke to my grandmother 10 years ago, where she recounted the wonderful story of Nigerian women's courage, creativity, and great sense of community. It's a story that I think deserves a lot more attention in the arts and in research because it's a celebration of women coming together to overthrow imperialism and colonialism. And I just think that it's a story that deserves to be honored because it's a story full of beauty and brilliance. And so this film itself is archiving that amazing historical moment and trying to educate people about it, get people to educate people about it, and also awaken our imagination so that we may have a better sense of our history as Nigerians.
In secondary school, I was curious about Nigeria's past, especially post-slavery and pre-independence, but didn't know where to find this information. When general studies was introduced into the school curriculum, I consulted teachers and textbooks and slowly began to fill the large gaps of events that intrigued me. After a school trip to Olumoro in Abeokuta, I became even more curious about the rich histories of the Egbas and eventually the Egba Women's Revolt. I discovered that a lot of forgotten histories are rarely found in texts. But
getting archival information was a little tricky because archival research in Nigeria sometimes is rarely documented well. Thankfully, we're able to visit the National Archives in Abeokuta, and there we found the Egba Council records. And that particular site, the National Archives, holds wonderful records of their activism. So we saw meeting notes of the Abeokuta Women's Union. We actually saw the names of people that participated in the revolt. We also saw exchanges between Funmilayo Ramson Kuti and other social actors involved in the movement, and so that was very, very, it was not hard in that sense. I also really believe in the importance of oral histories. Oral histories are the histories that are told from people's lips, and in a lot of research, we often deem that to be, incredible, unworthy, because we think the written record is the most important record. What Record Found Here is also trying to show is that the oral histories are also very important and that they deserve to be documented. A lot of Nigerian history, whether it's folklore or myths or storytelling, is all told through our lips. And I just wanted to archive that. And I did that with my amazing team of creatives who were able to work on this project to ensure that the story of the Egba Women's Revolt is celebrated.
I was a toddler then, 9 years old, in 1947 when the crisis started.
Administrative kìíní ní 1914 tí wọ́n mú Aláké mọ́nú àwọn akóni ìṣiṣẹ́ pé kó lọ fìdí ẹ̀ múlẹ̀ níbi tó wà pé àwọn obìnrin gbọ́dọ̀ máa sanwó ọjà kọjá ogún wọ́n parí ogójìlá.
patriarchy rather is embedded in our whole society. For me, as a historian and storyteller, my job is to ensure that any erased history, that it's told and it's celebrated. I really think that a lot of our history is being largely undocumented, especially histories to do with women, is also as a result of patriarchy itself, because we deem certain histories as more important than others, and we view some others as worthy of studying. And so for me, as a historian and storyteller, it's very important that these histories, the untold histories, are amplified and archived. And practically what I ensure to do is I have a podcast called Story, which we've shared in schools, from universities to secondary schools, to ensure that people are learning about the story of the Egba Women's Revolt. I also try my best to write. So I think of writing as a form of activism in itself. So I've written extensively on issues to do with, women issues, the patriarchy, and also to do with ensuring that we contest the erasure, which I think is a very violent erasure, because what happens is that people in society are often left at the margins, and my job is to pull our stories, our voices from the margin to the center.
This film, Record Found Here, documents my journey 10 years after I first heard that wonderful story of resistance into a vast archive that neither sleeps nor slumbers. It explores records contained in oral testimonies, historical sites, newspapers, and official documents, so that we may see the unseen, know the unknown, and learn our resistant history anew.